All right, let's go over the quiz. If you have 180 degrees and you subtract the 95 and subtract the 45, then it looks like there's 40 degrees left for A. So angle A is 40 degrees. Okay, so now I need to figure out these two sides, okay? So I have like angle, side, angle. So this is a law of sines. So law of sines, and of course, I'm going to pause a second. My pen's dying. Okay, I switched to one of these markers. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so you have sine of, let's see, 45 is over B, what, sine, and it doesn't really matter the order as long as the sides are opposite correctly. And so C or A, I guess I could put that here if it bothers you, sine of 40 degrees over what, A. All right, so I'm going to cross multiply. And again, I like to take this times this and divide by this. So I would take 5 times sine of 45 degrees. Technically, that equals sine of 95 degrees times B because you cross multiply. But when you're trying to solve for B, you divide. So a lot of times people just kind of remember like, oh, just multiply the two numbers, divide by the other guy. Okay. So if you type this in a calculator, and again, make sure you're in degrees, all right? And all my calculators are at work. So I am going to, so I'm on degrees here. So I'm going to do a fraction bar. I have what, 5 times sine, and actually let me do it the way I would our normal calculator. I'd probably take 5 sine 45, and then, oops, don't do that. And then I would hit enter. Then what I do is take that answer. So I'd hit that. Usually it's like the shift, key with the enter or something. I take that answer and divide by what, sine of 95, just to be safe with order of op. All right, so I get 3.55 about. Okay, so what is that for? B is 3.55. And then you could put your B in here if you want, but again, it's an approximation. So I would probably not use it here unless you use all of it. So I would probably ignore this and I would cross multiply all the way across to there. So again, I would take 5 times sine of 40 degrees, divide by sine of 95 degrees. And when I do that, what did I get? I think I got 3.23. And this will be inches, feet, whatever. All right. Okay, let's look at the next one. Now, the first time I drew this, all right, I didn't draw it right, and I can show you kind of how I drew it. This is the only one I tried to draw correctly. So I kind of did A, B, C, kind of like you normally put A, B, C order. And then let's see what, A was 40 degrees, which means the side A is over here. And then what else do I do? Side B is 5. Okay, do you see how that's the bad word? It's A, then SS, so it spells the bad word. So this is law of sines, but you might get no triangles, 2 triangles, or 1, okay? And so I don't like to draw it this way. The bad word one is the only one that it matters kind of how you draw it, okay? Unless you for sure look for 2. So I like to put, obviously, the 40-degree angles here. The angle I don't know and the side I don't know, they need to be across from each other because this is like a hinge where this side can either bend in or out. And usually if I do that, I can kind of see what's going on. All right, so I know A, side there, and then the other side I know is 5, and that goes with what, B? All right. So when I look at this, if I draw it this way, I can see if this side over here was like 20, I'd be like, well, man, when I swing it over, because there's a hinge right here, right? Like a door or hinge, I'd be like 20 is way too big. If this is only 2, I might be like, well, I don't think that's going to touch. But 4 kind of looks like I could bend it in or out, right? And so I'm like, I'm thinking I'm going to get 2 triangles. Now, if you want to put an altitude in here and do sine of this 40 with opposite over hypotenuse, you can, and then you'll know what you're going to get. Okay, I'm just going to solve it because I kind of visually can see that there's probably going to be 2. Sine of B over B and what? Sine of C over C. Now, if you don't draw a good picture, like I did up here, do you see how I would have caught my ear there? Because I have 2 things that are varying together. And when that happens, you can have more than one answer that's going to give you that. Okay, all right, I'm going to cross multiply. Again, 5 times the sine of 40 and divide by 4. Now notice this equals sine of B. It doesn't equal your answer. So on the calculator, all right, what I would do, I don't need a big, is I would take 5 times the sine of 40. And again, I would hit enter just to be safe. Then I would divide by 4. Oh, it helps if you go second answer, or answer in this case, divided by 4. All right, so I get the sine of b, and I am not going to round. I get 0.8034 dot, dot, dot. Now notice there's going to be 2 places on the computer that, or on the unit circle computer that has that. So I'm going to hit enter. All right, I'm going to do inverse sine. So I'm going to go to function, inverse sine of the answer. So go back to the main and pick the answer. All right, I get a 53.46 degree angle. So angle B is, we'll just go 53. Yeah, I'll just do the 53.6. Okay, so let's kind of think about that. That would be about here. And notice there, I want a positive sign that equals that. So if I fold it over, the sign is going to be positive over there too. So if I kind of fold it over, that would be what? Up 53.46. Okay. Now you can do, 180 and figure out all 4 pieces, but I'm just going to subtract from 180 to see what that is. All right. But, you could do it multiple ways. So I'm going to take 180 and then subtract, because this angle is the same. Those are congruent. Minus 53.46. All right, so that means this big angle, that rotation right there is 126.54. That's going to be my obtuse angle when I rotate it in. Okay, that's going to be that. All right, so let's do the first triangle. All right, so the first triangle is the, I don't know, we'll call it the acute triangle. All right, so what did we get for that? Sine of B, so angle B is about 53.46. Okay, so then I'm going to put it in there. All right, so let's just put that 53.46 in there. Okay, now you have 180 degrees. Subtract the 53.46 and subtract the 40 degrees, right? Okay, and then when you do that, what did I get for that one? Angle C is 86.54 degrees. All right, so I got that. So angle C, I could put in there too, is 86.54. All right, so now what's left? We have to solve for C. All right, now we have to use at least one rounded number. I'm not going to use 2, so I'm going to skip this guy, but you could if you have enough digits. I'm going to take that times that, divide by that. Okay, so if I take 4 times the sine of 86.54 divided by the sine of 40, that's going to spit out my C. Okay, so when I did that, what did I get? I got side C is about 6.2. Okay, now the problem is there is another triangle. Okay, so that was the acute triangle. Let's try that. Let's find the obtuse triangle. All right, well, when we did the B, the calculator, when you do inverse sine, your calculator thinks you're on the side, but you're not. You chose to do this. Your original problem has infinite many answers, but you chose to do inverse sine, so you are not limited in domain. You get infinite many answers. So my other one would be, okay, instead of angle B being that, angle B could be 126.54, okay? Then if I take 180 minus 126.54 and 140, I think. Okay, let's look. So let's do that. So I have 180 degrees minus 126.54 minus 40? All right, that leaves 13 point, yeah, I rounded a lot on mine, but that gives me 13-ish. But I'll do 13.46 degrees, and that would be for angle C? All right, and then I need to figure out side C, right? Side C. All right, so let's go back. I have sine of 40 over 4. And then now I have sine of 126.54 over 5. And then for sine C, I have sine of C, which is 13.46 over C. All right. Now I'm going to have to use some rounded numbers here. So I'm just going to cross, multiply, and divide. Okay. So notice there's no sign on the C. So you just do the math. So I'm going to take sine of 13.46 and end the parenthesis times the 5. I'm going to enter, even on a normal calculator. I'm going to take that answer divided by sine of that. So divided by sine of 126.54. All right, and I got 1.45 about. right? And that would be whatever unit, yeah. And that makes sense, it'd be tiny, right? Because I'm rotating it. Okay, all right, the next one is side, 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 okay? So this is gonna be law of cosines, okay? So I'm gonna, well, I can just do this. Make sure you do the largest side first in case you have an obtuse angle. So it's always the largest side here on side, side, side. This guy squared, the other guy squared, minus 2 times these two guys, cosine of the angle opposite this big guy, which would be angle C, okay? Again, this stuff is glued together. These are not. So go ahead and, subtract these over, okay? And then go ahead and multiply those. So what did I get? I got negative 12 equals and negative 60 cosine C. Okay, in algebra, you always isolate, okay? Do the inverse, divide. And again, it doesn't matter if you reduce because you're solving there. All right, how do you solve for cosine? Well, you don't know what it is, so you do inverse cosine to undo it. Again, you are not limited to the cap. You are choosing to do this. Nobody made you do it. So on a calculator, you do inverse cosine of that, okay? And I got angle C to be 78.46 degrees. All right, so I got 1. Now, if you do the largest side, you can switch to law sines. If you accidentally did one of the smaller ones, you're going to find an acute angle. And then if you switch to law sines, you might have the 2 triangle issue. So if you want to do law of cosines twice, you will never get it wrong. Okay, if you want to switch to law of sines at this point, you better make sure if it's side, 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 you do the largest side on the outside first. Okay, so I switched to law of sines. I can do law of cosines quick. I'm going to pause and just set up law of cosines over here to the side to show you how you do that, and then we'll move on. Okay, I set up law of cosines, one side squared, the other 2 minus 2 times those, and then cosine of the angle that goes with that side, which is B. Subtract it over, always do that. Multiply these guys, they're glued together, divide. And then after you get, so at that point you get cosine of B equals what? 38 over 70. So inverse cosine, again, your calculator might think you're limited in domain here, but again, it doesn't matter because inverse cosine is on the cap, so it will give you an acute or an obtuse angle in quadrant 1 or 2. So you're going to be safe with law of cosines, okay? Which I wish it worked all the time. I wish that law of sines didn't exist. So on this one, if you do inverse cosine for B, what did I write? I think I wrote it down wrong, or is that for A? That's for A. Helps if you write the right letter. Sorry, that's A. Okay, A is obviously 6. Okay, so angle A is that. And then to get angle B, the only guy left is you take 180 degrees minus the 2 that we found. So angle B is about 44.42 degrees. Okay. All right, so doing law of cosines twice is safe on side, 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 okay? Otherwise, you have to do the largest side if you want to try law of sines after. Okay, all right, so the only one you have to worry about is, and of course, we don't call it the bad word because that wouldn't work. So the SSA, it's an ambiguous case, so if it spells the bad word, and really it has to be the bad word with an acute, because do you get if it was the bad word with an obtuse, the angle is right here, there's no way that could shift over. So it really has to be a acute angle with the bad word. And then you have to kind of test it for 2. All right, let's look at the next one. All right, I'm going to just set these up for time so we hopefully stay under 15 minutes. So give me a minute. Okay, for this one, you have to subtract from 180 to get this angle. I'll kind of showed a picture up there. So that's 155. These guys are supplementary. They make a line. And then add up all and subtract from 180, kind of show a picture there to get the 10. Set up law of sines. And again, you don't care about this side, so leave a B. There's no way I'm going to get this done. Cross multiply, so take, and then always, so this times this divided by that. And you can kind of see it when you show the math. All right, so type that in your calculator right there, and you should get X is about 1490.48 feet, okay? All right, let me do the next 2 quick, maybe. All right, this is side angle side, so you want to use this area formula. You always want the 2 sides that are trapped with the angle. So half the side 3, side 4, because they're trapped with the angle in between. Just type it in a calculator. You should get 3 square centimeters, okay? This one is side, side, side. This is going to be Heron's. Get the peri perimeter, add them up, divide by 2, use his formula, right? and then take the area times the price per square foot. You should get something that looks like that. All right.